Hello, Craig.
It's all on you, it's all on me. Can't you see? It's all on you, it's all on me. You and me, can't you? It's all on you, it's all on me.
Hey, Craig. Right or wrong, we don't care. Win or lose, we don't care. We don't care. We don't care. We don't care.
Hello, Jeff.
Howdy.
Now, I think we should have recorded this last Thursday night for like maximum intensity. And
Yeah, we should have brought all the recording equipment to Beer Stone for sure. Just done it on the spot.
But anyways, still excited. This is Podcast versus Everyone, episode 211. I am Craig Powers. With me, as usual, is Jeff Newser. And Jeff, speaking of last Thursday, what a win! Like an all-time win in Wazoo history, with a first and second place matchup going on the road in one of the toughest places to play in the country against a top 5 team and coming out with a win. Like it also winning there for the second straight year, like, and sweeping them this year. Like what an incredible win. And it was about as exciting as it could be.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, I don't know about you. I fully expected a loss. Like
Yes.
I didn't think a win. Yeah. I didn't think a win was impossible or anything, but I definitely was like, I don't know. You and I deal in probabilities, right? Like we do this all the time. We talk about probabilities. We talk about what's likely to happen. We talk about things like, we very rarely speak in absolutely definitive terms. We say things like most likely, or it seems like we are kind of pre-programmed to do that. And, the probabilities were wildly in Arizona's favor. And it was like, so you go into it thinking, all right, well, this is kind of a no-lose situation for Wazoo, right? Like if we lose, no harm, no foul, you're supposed to lose. And unless you get, blown out by 25 or something, then, you're probably fine. And if you win, then it's like, holy shit, right? Well, there we go. We won. It was truly exciting. I think for me, it like just getting to watch it at Beer Star with you and with Emma and with Sarah and all the other, Coug folks who showed up. Ryan, I believe it was Ryan, right? Who we met there at the bar as well. And it's like, like all of these folks who, decided to come out just sort of impromptu to watch the game and having, our favorite beer tender D, letting us sort of take everything over with the TVs and the sound and everything. It was funny. Sarah went, I don't know if you knew this, Sarah went outside to go pick up her food from Sammy's. And the way you had done the speakers meant that it was broadcasting outside. And she said there were like people across the street at, I don't know, what's across the street, like a Bartell or something, or a Walgreens.
Yeah.
And she said there were people, Walgreens. She said there were people across the street in the Walgreens parking lot kind of looking over at Beer Star like, what the hell? Because the game was being broadcast out across 6th Avenue with the speaker that, is outside facing the, the fireplace and the deck out there. So anyway, just, very funny. Being at Beer Star was like just super fun. Just like being with other people. I think there's really, it seems, obvious, but there truly is nothing like, being with other Cougs for a big moment. And, and like I said, wasn't necessarily expecting the big moment. I thought, I'll go out there and we'll watch the game and I'll have a couple of beers and it'll be great to see my friend. And, they'll probably lose, but whatever. But then to have it happen and have us just, losing our damn mind and FaceTiming with people, on the other side of the country to celebrate, just all of it was just so euphoric and so fun. And just that game was everything that's good about this team as we're really trying to kind of soak this up, right? Because who knows when something like this happens again. We're all too aware that, these things are not guaranteed. And to be able to just sort of soak it up together, the hugs, the jumping around, the yelling, the the everything. It just was, it truly was. It was just magical. And I, I love it. That's why we do it, right? Like, it's why we, put ourselves through the painful moments, is, for the highs like that, where you just can't replicate it any other way.
And you get in it, you get a legendary performance, the type that, those, it seems like ought to be 27 points. So David Harbley in 2007, when the Cougs beat Arizona at home, he had 27 points lead the Cougs. When Thomas Kaladi had 27 points in 2005 when WSU upset Arizona on the road. So it's just like, and then Jalen Miles has 27 in this game to lead the way. Just his best game as a Coug. He would probably say, given the competition, one of the best games of his life. Oh
yeah, for sure.
And then
I would be comfortable saying the best for sure.
They beat Arizona on the road with Miles Rice having maybe his worst game as a Coug, and Oscar Clough being so limited that by fouls and also just overall that he played 12 minutes, and Chinyelu actually stepped in and was massive, 6 of 7 from the board, 12 points, 11 boards, a block shot. Just he was so massive. And then you have Kamani stepping in, actually running the point late while Miles was on the bench because of his struggles, and actually doing a really good job both defensively and offensively. You have Jones stepping it up in the second half, as he's done time and time again after a really struggled first half. Really just there was a stretch where Arizona couldn't guard him, where he was either scoring buckets or drawing fouls and hitting free throws. Just a special player, like a special player. And just it was so fun. And then, of course, how it happened. They led for much of the second half. They'd give it back, but they'd take it back, and then they pushed it up to 7. And then, of course, Arizona fights back, and then Caleb Love gets that 3-point play with about 50 seconds left on a kind of a phantom-looking foul on Chinyelu, and our mood in that bar dipped. Okay, we're down by 3. I know there's still 50 seconds left, but man, this feels like a killer. And they go down, and they're struggling to get a look. I've watched this sequence so many fucking times because they put out that video with the Chazanel call, which I transcribed into a song. I put it on my Twitter. It kind of fit with stanzas and stuff, but just the sequence of Miles just getting to the point where I got to put a shot up. We can't take it any longer. Yeah. After they take 20 seconds of passing the ball around, and then just Yaki getting in there and fighting for a ball.
Yes.
And then Jalen having the presence of mind. He was under the basket, having the presence of mind once he sees.
Well, everybody had to try and go get an offensive rebound, right? He was one of them.
He sees
and then
everyone else trying to do this, and he bails out and sprints to the 3-point, backs up the 3-point line, and Yaki amazingly finds him, sees him there, and he hits the shot, says he didn't even see it go in. He gets the hard closeout. Guy kind of ends up landing underneath of him a little bit. And then, man, when foul whistle, we were kind of confused. There was some confusion at the bar. I started screaming and one. They weren't putting the points on the scoreboard, I think, was the confusion.
Yeah, it wasn't clear
wait,
exactly
what
was happening.
Foul or something? What is going on? But we're and what? And then it was holy shit, he scored it and he got fouled. Oh my God. This is beyond the realm of of all of what you expected to happen in this possession. You were not expecting that to happen. And of course, he calmly, after a free throw, a really long timeout, buries the free throw or after after a long timeout, buries the free throw, and then they come down. They get 2 stops basically because Love gets it. Clough, who had not played very much, they put him in for this final defensive possession. Makes a hell of a defensive play.
Yep.
He gets switched onto Love, and Love probably thinks he's gonna dribble by him. Clough moves his feet, puts him in a tough position, basically sets it up for Isaac to get the easy block. Really unfortunate bounce, and then what a beautiful break to happen for just a fan base that never feels like we get any breaks.
Right.
all the fucking banked threes over the years.
Yeah,
where Caleb Love just straight up slips and falls, and
he just slips.
That's trouble. He just trouble.
Yep.
And it was like, oh my god, they actually called it too. Like I was like, holy shit,
well,
they're just not going to call it.
I'll even say this also, in rewatching it, had he not slipped, he still was in trouble. Like he was trying to kind of jump stop in kind of no man's land. He was very likely going to have to give up the ball from there. I don't know.
Well,
either that or
the
force up a
corner,
really tough shot because Clough was
the guy
all over him.
The guy he passed to hit the 3, and I think Arizona fans kind of focused on that. But basically, Jones was right there for the closeout, but he just stopped with the whistle blowed.
Everybody stopped.
So the 3 wouldn't have been that open for the guy in the corner. But also if he jump stops, he's not going to be able to see that guy in the corner the same way.
Right.
Like it's going to be different.
Right.
And just knowing Love's mentality, he probably tries to force up a shot.
He did not look to the guy in the corner until he was falling down.
Because he's like, oh shit, I'm going to get a travel.
Exactly.
And then,
that's exactly what it was.
Your feet already slid. Both of your feet slid.
That ship's already sailed.
You both, whichever pivot foot you may have established is sailing away.
Yes.
It's toast. Over. And then Jalen getting that hairy inbounds. I don't know how many times you watched it.
Oh my god.
That is what a catch. It was a tight pass. He had to do a little dribble. Yep. And it was tight, but then he buried both free throws.
By the way, he buries both of those free throws, buried the one at the end. And when he went to the line, I was like, yeah, these are automatic, man. This is 0% chance he misses any of these. I can't think of a guy who is that I've watched at Wazoo who is maybe that reliable. Other than Clay, I guess Clay was really, really, really good too. But I'm like, it's been that long. And I'm looking right now at Jalen Wells's free throw stats for the year. And Ken Pomeroy is telling me that Jalen Wells has missed 12 free throws this year. And for the love of God, I cannot remember 12 missed free throws by that man. I swear to God, he has made every free throw he has taken this year. I don't know. But Ken Pom says he's an 83%er. I figured it was closer to 90.
Yeah, and then Arizona had that play drawn up. Love was actually pretty close on the end, but I'm not sure he got it off in time. I think if they would have reviewed it.
I think he did. It certainly seemed like what the Cougs were trying to do was sort of kind of zone up in the backcourt to kind of make them take a little extra, at least an extra dribble or something. And then they were doubling Love. And, Jalen Wells
if
almost
Love hits that falling away turnaround,
what are you going to
38-footer
from half court?
What are you going to do?
Jalen Wells damn near stole the ball before that happened. The Cougs were right there. They were trying not to foul. Now I do wish, whatever. We're sitting here at a computer talking into microphones, a week later. So whatever. Take it for what it's worth. But in an ideal situation, I would have loved for them as soon as Love was receiving that ball, just whack him. Just whack him. Yeah.
As the pass is coming to him, just get in the way, roll him over.
And I know that Ballo's an unbelievable offensive rebounder. I know if you put Love on the line, you are taking a chance with an offensive rebound, but also at that point, there's what? There would have been like half a second left, three-quarters of a second left, something like that. Not much.
It would have been like
right enough for an offensive rebound to be tipped. I understand why you wouldn't.
You would just tell your defensive rebounders just like poke the ball, like just don't even try to
just
grab
tap
it.
the ball, just like tap it out. Something, get a hand on it.
Touch, like,
yep. Yeah. Because like I understand why a lot of people are like debate the do you foul up three, right? And at 2.7 seconds, which is what it was at the inbounds, no, you don't want to foul at 2.7 seconds. That's honestly, that's way too much time for something weird to happen on an offensive rebound. But once you get down to like that second pass, right out to Love, at that point there's almost no time, and that would have been a good time to foul.
Well, that's a risk, because if the risk when you're fouling late is if the guy with the ball is shooting.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like you whack him as he's receiving that ball.
If you hack him, like if you in the process of him catching the pass, if you're just like aggressively going to try to steal it, and either you steal it or you foul him, whatever. Right. Yeah, there's a half a second left. But it worked out. It's fine. Yes. And then we lost our shit. And
we did lose our shit. We were running around. There were hugs. There were high fives. There were, there was so much celebration.
Yeah, and it was what a moment. It's fun to have these moments, and even I guess the backdrop of everything we've like dealt with this sports year, to have this surprise of a team like this, that kind of really come like we were like there were so many unknowns, and it just we were thinking NIT, sure, and to be in the position they are, where they're this win just put them in the tournament.
Yep.
And we're not even looking at bubble anymore. We're looking at seeding.
No.
And so it's just an incredible place to be. Incredible.
I mean,
story.
We're at a point where we would have to lose out like that. That's what it would take. We'd have to lose the last three regular season, and probably also lose in the Pac-12 tournament. Probably at that point they are out, maybe, but it'd be close.
I mean,
like that's what we're talking about.
But if you're going against another bubble team, you're the one with 2 wins over a top 5 team,
and you've already got your 5 quad 1 wins. Like you're already like that's not going to change, no matter what happens over these last 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 games. So yep.
Well, if it ends up being 6 games, they're definitely going to be in, because
yes, exactly.
Won a couple in the Pac-12 tournament.
Yeah, made it to the final. Yeah. No, it's. I mean, it's all good, man. Like we knew, we said from the beginning, beating Arizona. If you can only have one of the two, beating Arizona is the one that carries much more weight than beating Arizona State. It absolutely, I guess we can probably talk about that briefly. It absolutely sucked to lose to Arizona State, but it didn't hurt nearly as much as I think most people assumed it would.
I think
Arizona
it
State's
hurt the
bad,
most. The hurt the most is if the dream of playing in Spokane.
Yes,
that is what it hurt the most.
I think so. I still think we're in okay shape for that, because so top 4 seed virtually guaranteed.
It's just one less. Less margin for error. That you have now.
I still think that 5 at a 5 or a 6. I honestly think that your chances of ending up in Spokane are actually still really good.
I just think it's
so we'll see.
The thing that I always come back to is, would the committee the committee's gonna know that like WSU, that's 75 miles away, and a significant number of their alums live in that town, and or could drive to that town. If you're a 5 seed or a 6 seed, that means you're putting the 4 seed or the 3 seed basically in a road game.
Yep.
And would the committee do that? I don't know.
I will say,
would they give the 5 seed or
I was gonna say they don't have any like bracket rules or bracket principles that prohibit that. So they might think it's distasteful. I don't know, but they don't have anything that prohibits it.
Well,
So-
what the other thing that plays in the favor WSU, if they are, a single digit seed, 5-6, is that there are no other teams that are going to have a single. Because Gonzaga maybe could play themselves to like a 9 or 8, I think, at this point.
I don't.
But
know
I
if
don't.
they can.
I mean, they have a couple quad
Maybe.
ones left on their
Yeah.
schedule, and then they could win they could beat St. Mary's.
They
in
could
the
beat St.
tournament
Mary's.
championship.
Yeah.
So they could get 3 quad ones. They could get 3 more quad ones. That Kentucky win changed a lot for them.
Yes, that was a big deal. God damn it. Anyway, continue.
Although, like, Kentucky is whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, it'll be interesting, and I'm already thinking, Jeff, we should definitely try to get together if we can for the selection show, and
Yes.
potentially do like some sort of live recording
Maybe
as
we
we're
should.
watching this
Yeah.
selection show, so
Maybe
that
we
everyone
should.
can hear us cry on the podcast.
Yes.
Because Jeff, I do this because I'm a weirdo. I will play scenarios out in my head and sometimes even speak them aloud. And I was playing a scenario of WSU getting in, and then also playing in Spokane, and I was definitely like bringing myself to tears today doing that.
Yeah.
So I think it would make for a very real and raw podcast to watch it, no matter where they end up.
We are
It's
going to
be
manifest that shit. Craig.
yeah. Yes. But
We're going to get
so
Emma to come over here and light some candles and just
Yes.
make this happen.
Or maybe we could just do a whole show. Maybe we'll find some way to kind of, record us doing it. Have a camera there, and then also some way to maybe have it on Twitter Spaces or some shit.
Ooh.
I don't know.
I don't know, man.
But maybe we could make it kind of a live scenario where we're like, hey, we're going to be at this bar, and if people
That'd be
want to watch
killer.
it, want to hang out, and maybe
that'd be killer.
they could talk. We could have some of our friends talk on the podcast too, with reactions and stuff. I don't know. Just throw it out there, Jeff. I think it might be a cool thing.
Let's make it happen, dude.
Yeah,
We'll keep you
I
posted,
think
y'all.
We should.
Yeah.
Would that be March 16th? No, 17th. Is it St. Patrick's Day? It is. It's St.
Yes,
Patrick's
I believe
Day.
that is correct.
Yes.
I believe that's right.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, and also, so the day before that, I am running the St. Patty's Half Marathon, which cursed this fucking illness I've been dealing with. I have not been training the last week, but I going to hopefully. So I'll run it, but it won't be my best time. But I bought one of the this year's the Coug St. Patty's shirts. So my shirt I'll have the Coug green, and it says "Kiss Me, I'm a Coug" on the back.
Beautiful.
So I'm gonna run it in that, and then I might have to wash it that night so I can wear it the next day for Selection Sunday, because you got to wear the Lucky Charm on the next day, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll have to maybe do that. Plus, you don't want to get pinched.
No. goodness, no. You don't want that.
Oregon Duck fans are lucky on St. Patrick's Day. That's where they normal shit.
That's the only way they're lucky. They're not lucky in any other way.
Any other way? Definitely
Any other
not
way.
lucky.
No.
Definitely not lucky because of their $1 billion
To have a
benefactor.
billionaire factor.
Yeah. But yeah, so and speaking of the Coug, so what on the Coug application, they have this question like, what would you do to be a Coug Bug Club member? And I didn't know what to put. And I this is a weird question. And I can't put anything
do
super
folks
weird,
hang on. Do folks know like do they understand like what we're talking about? Do they know that like, okay, so first of all, when you go to Pullman, or when we go to Pullman, we spend a lot of time at the Coug. Like we go there a lot.
Yes.
You have become speaking of like sort of benefactors, you have become sort of a bit of an alumni benefactor to the staff at the Coug, right? Like you've done multiple events there. When you got engaged, we had basically a party at the Coug. we've done lots of things.
They stayed open an extra day for me in the summer.
Yeah, they stayed open an extra day in the summer, right? So they always shut down for a week in the summer to renovate, repaint, whatever. And they stayed open an extra day for that, and they were rewarded handsomely for that decision, right? We all made sure to tip very generously. And and anytime you come, anytime we come, we go hang out at the Coug, and I know you and I both tip very generously at that time, right? Because we're dealing with college kids, and we're like, man, an extra $10 for me is not that big of a deal. $10 to them, big damn deal. So I'll tip an extra $10 or $20 or whatever, right? So all of that said, you were encouraged as how old are you, Craig?
38.
As a 38-year-old, almost 39-year-old alumni to complete a Coug Mug Club application, which you did.
Yes, I did.
And so while you were completing the application, now continue the story. You're completing the application and...
So what the first question is, what will you do? I did know what to put. I'm not going to put something weird. I'm too old to put some run naked through the whatever, whatever. So I just put I'm going to run, I just put something literally I'm going to do. I'm going to run a half marathon on St. Patrick's weekend in my Coug Kiss Me I'm a Coug shirt. And so that was my answer. There was also a question about which of the bartenders you might be into. And I said, no comment. I'm not answering that. I am too old. I think married. I just wrote I'm too old for this and married. These they all look like children to me is totally the answer.
I mean, if we're being real, you could be their dad. I'm just saying.
Yes.
It's biologically possible.
I definitely know people my age with kids that age.
Yep.
Or at least close to it. Maybe at least in college age.
Correct.
But so I submitted. I was there for the Stanford weekend, and that was when the applications were due. So I filled out my application. I folded it up, put it in my jacket, and then I had to go to Walmart on Sunday and print off a picture because you have to have a picture attached. And so I had to print off a picture. I had to buy some tape and a pen to finish filling out. So
oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So I did that, and then I went to the Coug. I met Jamie there. We were watching the women's game, and then the epic loss from UW in triple overtime to Arizona right after the women's game against Arizona State. And I put in my application, and then I found out last week that I got in.
Woo!
Which I've been told is pretty weird for an old guy or an alum.
Yep.
So
no, you're an old guy. It's okay. You're old. It's good.
Yeah. But I've become close to the Coug through my engagement, and then I do I basically give them a lot of free marketing. Let's be honest. And we did that fun video collaboration as well. And that was really fun. I just, I like the place. It's a good place, and I like the people that work there.
Yep.
Lance, that does, I believe he worked there as a student, and now he has a marketing firm, and he does marketing for them. He's a good guy, and he's one that really kind of helps sets up a lot of this stuff for me. So I really appreciate Lance, and he's on the Cougs First podcast this week, by the way. I think if you
that's awesome.
Want to hear from him, he's a real cool guy. Real interesting journey. So I think it'd be. I might actually listen to that. I follow. I know him, and I follow him. He's very open about mental health and stuff on his social profiles. A very, very positive person. Anyway, so he's one that he's like, oh, you got to apply. And so I did, and he messaged me. He's like, you got in. I know you're not in Pullman, so you can't come look, but you got in and stuff. I'm like, oh, awesome. So I discussed with my wife. They have this Mug Club initiation, and it's that just to me that's that only happened I'm only going to be initiated to Mug Club once, and so on next Monday I am. After I get off work, I'm flying to Pullman The Mug Club initiation starts at 10. Stay in at the courtyard or whatever.
It's so rad.
Get a go do the Mug Club initiation. Get back on a plane in the morning. Fly back.
Hell yeah.
In the middle of the
Hell
day.
yeah.
So I was looking at, well, maybe I'll just go to the UW game instead. But the flights for the UW game on the way back were like crazy. So I decided, you know what? I'll and I couldn't go. In an ideal world, I would have went to the UCLA game and just stayed till Monday or stayed till Tuesday. But my daughter's birthday is this weekend, so I can't go to Pullman.
Yeah,
I would love to be going to Pullman.
Yeah, but, you and me both, buddy.
Yeah, but I got my daughter. It's her third birthday, so we got to celebrate that.
Children.
So I'm officially a Coug Mug Club member, Jeff.
Woo!
And of course, you know what I put on the mug, not my name.
Nope, of course not.
No,
who would do that?
But three letters.
The only three letters that
GFC.
matter. That's right.
Go fucking Cougs. Or as when I told Dee, because she's like, I'm not surprised. She's just like, I'm not surprised that you are like, you got Mug Club membership at a bar that's 300 miles away. She's like, that makes sense. 200 miles away.
It is really perfectly you.
Yeah,
for sure.
And so I was like, oh, I put GFC on the thing, and Dee's not like, she's like from the East Coast, so but I'm making her a Coug. I mean,
yeah,
I'm turning the beer sour into a Coug bar.
Yeah, we're definitely making some progress.
By the way,
for sure.
Her boss was really excited about the impromptu watch party. He was very excited about that, and Dee had a really nice night that night. Like she said, the Cougs were good. She thinks they tipped well, so good job, Cougs.
Good job, Cougs.
So she says, GFC. She goes, "Oh, get fucked, Craig." And I was like,
I mean, she got one of the words pretty close. I mean, one of the words she got about 80% of it right.
She could have said, "Go fucking Craig." No,
yeah, she could have said
get fucked, Craig.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
But a lot of the Coug Mug Club names I've seen are like, because it's a lot of like frat guys. It's their like frat nickname, which are often very, very derogatory.
Yes, those are not
like,
always
they're terms of endearment.
Yes, we had a conversation on Slack today about some of the frat nicknames from the guys that I was with at my house. And so it's definitely like the one I said was like, okay, this one guy and Mark was like, he definitely is a guy you call by his last name. And I'm like, nope, not his last name. He was from Washougal. So from then on forever, he was Washougal. That was it. Because who's from fucking Washougal, man? Like, well,
I can see it be like Washougal and then like Shugal and then Shug.
Yeah. He loved to tell, this is what happened. He loved to tell everybody he was from Washougal. He's like, I'm from Washougal. And we're like, where the fuck's Washougal? And he's like, oh, it's, right? Like Camas. It's by Camas. And he's like, stop fucking by Camas. Camas fucking sucks. I'm from Washougal. And I'm like, all right, Washougal. And then that's that.
I learned of Washougal being a place because of Wazoo.
Okay.
Like I remember like meeting someone freshman year from Washougal. And I'm like, I had no idea this was a place. Like I don't even know. And then I was like, damn,
where's
you guys
Washougal?
drive
And he's like, it's
I was like,
by
you
Vancouver.
guys drive long fucking way to get here. Like
there is no direct route
or something like
that.
that.
There's no direct route from Washougal.
You go like Pullman. 84 to
you drive along the river, you drive up to the Tri-Cities, and then you drive from the Tri-Cities to Pullman. That is not a good route at all. Anyway.
Yeah. So I'll be at the Coug on Monday night.
For anybody who happens to be at the Coug on Monday night.
Well, if you're a Mug Club member and you're in Pullman on
true.
Monday night, 10 p.m., it's for Mug Club members only.
There you go. I love it.
I'll wear my members only jacket if I had one.
Oh, hell yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, basketball. Let's look at. I sadly missing the games this weekend, but I think USC, UCLA. I mean, both of these games are games you just want to win, regardless of what tourney implications. Like UCLA, just their last trip ever to Pullman, it would just be so wonderful to beat their ass, beat Mick Cronin's little ass.
Yes,
just and some of the annoying fan base, UCLA, and I'm not even talking about just the current, but I'm talking about like going back to my goddamn master teacher in student teaching. He still drives me nuts to this day with the way he would talk about UCLA and stuff.
Yeah, we won't even start in on
always
Carlos.
Carlos. My God. He just decided to troll Wazoo this year, I guess. And you guys got to quit falling for it.
Yeah, don't do that. Just mute his ass.
But
anyway,
USC,
let's start with USC.
UCLA showed. Well, no, I'll just USC.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Because we got to talk about DJ Rodman.
Yeah, we beat USC at USC. Collier was hurt in the second half. It was still, we probably still win that game, but it's probably closer. Now Collier is a good player. He didn't have a great game against us, and against our big ass zone defense, we could diminish some of his stuff. But what's most important here, and what's going to be the thing that people are amped up for, and the thing that has been a topic of discussion on social media this week quite heavily, is the return of DJ Rodman.
Yep.
And Jeff, I was ready to be like, it's fine, like we'll welcome him back, but some comments have surfaced, and then he's doubled down on those comments leading up to the game,
and kind of tripled down.
And it's just tripled down, and it's just like, shut the fuck up, DJ.
I know.
Like, shut up, dude. Like, who is telling you to say this? So the first comment we heard, was this all today? Someone,
like all
today
of it,
or yesterday.
all of it showed up on Twitter. I think it started yesterday.
Yes. So what brought up was a comment from September when he said that he went to USC because.
Okay, hold on. I have the quote.
Go ahead.
Okay, let me say the quote.
Read it word for word.
So this is via Luca Evans, who's the, I believe, OC Register USC beat writer. Let me double check and make sure. Yes, OC Register. So USC beat writer for the OC Register. So this was the quote from September. Quote, "I just wanted to win. I was tired of losing. And I mean, no disrespect to Washington State, ... That's a rebuilding program. And I wanted to spend my last year and win." So, okay. Ignoring the fact that they went to the NIT 2 years in a row and were really like sort of that close. They were a high seed too, so they were really kind of that close to making the NCAA tournament. If I'm being as charitable as humanly possible, I could focus in on the rebuilding thing and be like, yeah, of course. He left after Bamba left, after Mo left, after... I'm not sure if Powell had left at that point, but definitely Bamba and Mo had announced their intention to move on. So if I'm being charitable, I can do that. But it's that I just want to win. I was tired of losing. It's like, holy fucking shit, man. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Right? Like, and I know that, like, anyway, I don't want to dwell too much on it, but I'm like, man, we've been following this team long enough. We have seen losing. What you experienced, DJ, that is not, that is not losing. Right? Like, we've lived this. Okay, so that was the first quote in September. All right, so then the next one, in January, right before WSU went to Los Angeles to play them down there, this is a snippet of what he said. Now, granted, by the way, I will fully acknowledge all of these quotes have larger context, right? That, like, these aren't the only things he said. I just don't know what the larger contexts are. I've only become aware of these quotes in the last, like, 24 hours or 48 hours. So take that for what it's worth. Okay, so this is what he said in January before WSU went down to Galen. He said, quote, "I love it over there, and I wouldn't trade those 4 years for the world, ... I think it was just time for me to grow out of my shell and just be somewhere else." Now, this was added on to the first quote as like somehow like to make it sound better, I guess. Like the reporter was like, okay, for all of you who think he really hates WSU, here's another quote that he said. Because actually, the way the tweet starts is, "To be clear, Rodman has a ton of love for WSU. Here's what he said in January." And I'm reading this quote and I'm going like, that's kind of not how I like. It still doesn't sound good. Like he's still saying, yeah, it's time for me to leave and grow out of my shell and be somewhere else. And it's like, if there's one thing that Cougs absolutely hate, it's this idea that somehow being in Pullman, WSU is less than something else, right? Because we live with that all the time. Those of us that live in Western Washington around Huskies all the time, and not just like people who went to the University of Washington, but people who didn't, who are like Husky fans, who are like, fucking Pullman, cow country out there, whatever. It's like, we're like super sensitive to this idea that somehow it's less than, and that you can't achieve what you want to achieve there because somehow it's less than or whatever, right? So it's all that. So DJ, in an effort, I don't know if it was his, like, I don't know if he was actually trying to sound better, but the reporter was definitely framing it as, hey, look, no, he doesn't hate WSU. Here's what he said. And I'm reading this quote and I'm going like, fuck, man, that sounds bad too, right? Okay, so then there's the quote from today. Okay, so hold on. Now I got to find it. I had it pulled up. Okay, so today's quote is a little bit less bad, but also like still like, what the fuck, man? So he says, all right, so here's the quote. "Yeah, no, I mean, people, you look back on things naturally, but I mean, I don't regret any decision I make. I don't, obviously I said I wanted to win, and that hasn't been the case here. But I mean, I've definitely grown up as a person being in this situation. And I wouldn't trade it back, no matter what. Just opportunity here is, you can't beat opportunity here in LA. And we're getting a ton of it. So that's what everyone looks for, is just opportunity. So you have endless here. I mean, no talk about Washington State, but that's a very small, again, it's not their fault, but it's a very small market and not a lot of publicity. So I don't regret anything. I don't regret any decision I make. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, okay, all that time in Los Angeles, all the like ideas about like, okay, you're there to build your brand, exposure, whatever. And you can't get some fucking coaching on how to talk about the place you left. Like, maybe he doesn't care. Maybe nobody cares, but I'm just like, holy shit, man. like you just sound like a total dick. And I don't know that you can like be honest about this without sounding like a dick, but it's also like, my God, you sound like such a dick. And it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know how he really feels. I don't know, whatever. But I'm like, man, these three quotes, when you put them together, it's just like, and they're all given at different times over, the span of, 6 months or whatever. And it's like, good God, man. Like, you could have said something like, yeah, I loved my time in Pullman. I'm so grateful for the time that I spent there. But, there were just so many opportunities down here, both with the team and with, some of the other things that come with being in Los Angeles. As hard as it was to leave WSU, and that'll always be home to me, as hard as it was to leave WSU, it was just an opportunity I couldn't pass up. Like, people will resonate with that sort of thing, but like, I don't know, man. Like, do you have the same read? Like, do you sit there and think like, oh my God, like think about what you're saying, my man?
Yeah. And it's all just bulletin board material for Wazoo. And and athletes, you give them anything, like that's all they need, like any little extra motivation in a game where they may feel like, oh, we could beat this team, where they may lax. You've given them that incentive to not relax in any way, because we got to beat this guy. He left us to go to this team, and he says he went there to win, and he all this stuff, and he says that there's no opportunity here. Like, let's show him what the opportunity is. Now, if we're actually looking at the game the one thing that sticks out to me is USC's ability to force turnovers. They lead Pac-12 play in turnover percentage forced, and man, we fell apart. That got us in a hole against Arizona State.
Yep.
And they have to come out take care of the ball the same way they did against Arizona, and in the second half against Arizona State.
Yeah.
Because USC, you can't give them easy 3 buckets. On turnover percentage, they have athletic guys. They can push it down the floor if they get it. Obviously,
I mean, that's really the only thing they have, right? Like, that's pretty much it. Like, if I'm Kyle Smith, I'm like, hey, man, hey, guys, hang on to the ball, win the game. Period. End of story. Because they really don't have anything else. They don't have anything else defensively. Like, they give up a ton of fucking offensive rebounds. Like, if you just get a shot up, that's it. Just get up a shot. They give up a ton of offensive rebounds.
Yep.
They don't.
They hunt blocks. They hunt blocks. And
yes, their 2-point defense is pretty decent. But here's the thing. Their 2-point percentage is maybe not as low as you would expect for a team that blocks as many shots as they do. And then WSU, so they're the number 1 shot blocking team in the conference defensively. We are by far the number 1 team in number 1 offensive team in the conference at not getting our shots blocked. So yeah, so really it is just don't turn it over. We should be fine. But that's the key.
It's what on your point on defensive rebounding. If you look at their defensive rebounding percentages for the individuals, like Vincent Wachuku, I'm probably butchering that. He's at 17%, and he's the highest on the team. Harrison Ornery, he's out, I think.
It's hard to communicate for people who don't follow this like we do. It's hard to communicate how unusual it is to have a team where the top defensive rebounder is only at 17%. And he only plays, by the way, 35% of the minutes. Now, part of that is that he was injured and whatever. But
he might play more. Like he might start. So like he might start or Morgan might start. They might play them both just to match WC's height. I don't know.
But to have their bigs, their other big, Page, only rebounds 14.5% of the misses. Josh Morgan, who's one of their other bigs, he's only at 13%. Like that's honestly insane. Like those are guard numbers. Let me see if I can put it in context by telling people about some of our numbers. Okay, so Andre Akimovsky, 14.7% at 6'8", right? Jalen Wells, 13.5% at 6'8". Kamani, 13.8%. So like those 3 guys at 6'8", 6'8", 6'7" are all rebounding about the same as USC's bigs on the defensive end. And then of course we have our bigs. Chinyelu is a monster, of course, at 26%, but Isaac Jones at 20%, Oscar Clough. He's actually a little low on defense, but it's important to remember that defensive rebounding is a bit of a zero-sum game. It's not a bit. It is a zero-sum game. So if Oscar's almost always playing with either Isaac or Chinyelu, right? And so if those guys are gobbling up defensive rebounds, fewer opportunities for him to get those. So that doesn't worry me at all, just as a quick side note. But yeah, so to your original point.
Because he's a very good offensive rebounder. So
really
good.
Knows
how to rebound.
Yep. So to your original point, yes, like their bigs are not great rebounders. That's definitely something we can exploit, provided we don't turn the ball over. As long as we don't turn the ball over, it's tough to see them slowing our offense down. In the first game, we didn't score. Honestly, we actually didn't score as well as we would like. 1.04 points per possession, which is really low for us. But and we didn't actually turn it over that much. We just honestly, that was the one game we didn't get a lot of offensive rebounds. 17%, which is kind of absurdly low for us. You would expect about twice that amount. At least for us, so
at least in conference play, you'd expect
30%.
30%.
Yes, so I think, and we kind of had a little lull there where we weren't getting a ton of offensive rebounds at the beginning of conference play. Oregon State was 13%. Oregon was 25%. USC 17. Arizona 21. Stanford 29. California 14. Like that was kind of the low water mark. Since that California game, it's been whoosh. So they must have like changed something or emphasized something or whatever. But since the California mark, the lowest one is 28%. There's only 2 that were less than 30. There's a couple that are over 40. Like, so yeah, big change after that game. I would expect that to continue here as well. So I think that'll be an emphasis, and just get a shot up, man. Somehow, some way, get a shot up. Don't turn it over.
Yep.
Miles got to hang on to the ball. That's been the big bugaboo with him. Don't turn over. Get up a shot. I think we'll be just fine. We'll score a ton. I don't think that I don't think USC can keep up with us scoring wise. So.
Yeah, barring Boogie going for.
Yes, of course. That's the
Boogie Ellis.
That's the nightmare scenario, right? The Boogie Ellis. Yeah. One last fucking time, goes crazy on us with 18-foot jumpers and scores 40 points, but whatever.
Yeah, so KenPom has us 81% favorites, average score 75-65. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little closer. I don't know. Like I just feel like hopefully there's a huge crowd. It just we get the energy.
I think it'll be a big crowd. I really do.
I'm thinking like 7,500 for Thursday and 10,000 for Saturday.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
What I'm thinking. If I remember back in 2008. The late weekends when people started showing up, that's what I would hope for, and then I would hope it's just packed the shit out for UW, even though it's a Thursday. I feel like it'll still happen.
I think it will.
Yeah. I know that a friend of mine said he for the USC game sold his tickets on SeatGeek for basically the price of the season tickets. So
wow.
So definitely people are. I don't know where his seats are, but yeah. So definitely people. I mean, the lower bowl is basically sold out for both, and so they're selling the upper bowl.
That's awesome.
And then it's going to be it's the students showing up. The students got to show up,
yes.
Because half of the arena is the students.
Yep.
So that is what turns it from a 5,000 seat crowd to a 10,000 seat crowd, is if all those students show up, which they didn't really against Stanford. But I think WSU's actually putting a much bigger effort into marketing this to them, I think, just from what I've seen. Yeah. And so hopefully they can get a big crowd, because I tell you, man, there's nothing like it when Beasley is packed in.
Totally.
It's so fucking loud when it's 5,000 students.
Yep.
And yeah, if you're there, if you're a student, stand to be loud and scream and yell. We're playing the two fucking teams that started this bullshit.
Yep.
Started the collapse of the conference right here. And we need to fucking beat them in their last trip to Pullman. So that takes to UCLA. Speaking of, UCLA's been definitely, they maybe have cooled off a touch, and maybe that was just playing some better teams, but UCLA just lost to USC at home.
Yep.
And they lost to Utah at home, and Utah has been playing like fucking shit.
Yeah, UCLA is definitely cooled off.
Plummeted.
Yep.
Utah has plummeted off the face of the earth, and they lost to Utah on like a crazy, amazing last-second play. By the way, you haven't seen. But still,
losing to Utah at home is like losing to, man, I don't know, Oregon State anywhere. I don't know.
Yeah, it's bad. Like it's really Utah,
bad.
Especially this current version of Utah. That was like 25 on KenPom when they came to Pullman, and let me get the exact. They were definitely top 30 on KenPom when they came to Pullman. They were 21 on KenPom when they came to Pullman. They are now 51 on KenPom.
Yeah,
like it's same for net.
Well,
they plummeted on net.
They were 46.
They were a quad one when we beat them.
Yes, they were 46 when they went to UCLA. They beat UCLA by a point and dropped to 51. So. That's actually no. They played one more game,
and then they lost to UC. They lost to USC.
They no, after that they lost to Colorado. So I guess that was the thing. But they did drop 2 spots after beating UCLA by 1. You know, because just like that's a team that should be better. They should beat UCLA by more than 1. But anyway.
Yeah, UCLA looked like they were challenging for the Pac-12 title, but now they've lost their last 2. They're 9-7.
Yep.
So they're coming up 2 tough games against UW and against Wazoo.
Right.
They have some talented players. Like, we haven't played them this year. This is wild. Like, that's just weird about the unbalanced schedule when you have too many teams to play it all even. It's like our second to last game is against a team that we have not seen all year.
Yep.
And it was the same with Arizona State.
Yep.
But Adem Bona is a very talented player. He has really taken a step up this year.
Yep.
But he functions almost entirely, inside the arc. And WSU's been really good at limiting players like that.
Yep.
And he
does draw a ton of fouls.
Yes, which will foul him. We definitely will. But WSU has 2 very good low post defenders in Clough and Chidelu who rotate out. One of them's pretty much always in the game.
Yep.
And then they have a good weak side shot blocker, rim protector in Isaac. They're just so big. If Jalen is switched or Yaki is switched on him, that's 6'8",
Yep.
6'8" and strong. Both of them are strong, especially Yaki. So that's gonna be big. Mac is an interesting player. He's not terribly efficient. He's definitely a downhill guard.
Yep.
He's
looking for
big
fouls
for them when they were playing well. Like, he was definitely a big factor in that.
Yep.
Now, what's going to be the key is scoring on UCLA. Their defense is actually really good.
Yep. As you would expect from a Mick Cronin team. In conference play, they are number 2 in points per possession, 1.018. So very good on defense.
They force a lot of turnovers. Another important thing. WC got to take care of the ball this weekend.
Yep. So they forced 10 turnovers,
but
again, not a great defensive rebounding team. Not great at keeping teams off the line. They're just they're pretty good.
They're basically they're just a slightly better version of USC's defense.
Kinda. Yeah. So they are, and where they get you. So this is what's interesting.
Shots.
They are, so USC is, all those turnovers, they build that mostly on steals, but they also get a fair number of non-steal turnovers. UCLA is kind of funny. They're only 5th in steal percentage, but they're 1st in non-steal turnovers. So I don't know what they're doing. Are they maybe they're drawing charges at a higher rate than what everybody else is doing?
That's wild.
I honestly don't know if that's the deal with them. It's tough to say, but
interesting.
That might
they
be.
are 2nd in the conference and 54th nationally in free throw percentage against, which obviously you don't have any control over. I guess you could foul the right guys. Maybe that's what they're doing.
Maybe,
but it's stark contrast to WSU, who teams just shoot amazing at the free throw line all the time.
Yeah, somehow.
So
it's very weird.
if you actually shoot well from the line against UCLA, you kind of throw off that factor. So hit your goddamn free throws.
Yes.
They give up weirdly, like for the defensive mind that Cronin is, it's not a very modern philosophy because they give up a ton of 3-pointers.
Yep. Yes, they do.
Like
teams
40,
just for whatever reason have not shot all that great against them.
I mean, honestly though, I'd take 35% if you're shooting 20 a game. I'd take 35%.
Yep.
That's like 7 to 20. That's pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah, that's you get 14. So you get 21 points of those 20 possessions. Yeah. If you're not turning it over, the other possessions will make up for it. Yeah. But yeah, I think this will be a grind. Like UCLA, that'll be a grinder.
Yes, I mean that's
UCLA
what
is
they're
an
going to.
incredibly slow team. Incredibly slow team. We're a very slow team. UCLA is one of the slowest teams in the country. Like this game against you, like KenPom has it predicted 62 possessions. It could be 59.
That's really low in the year 2024. Like we would see that sort of thing with the Bennetts, but that was under the 35-second shot clock and not the 30-second shot clock. Like that's really low.
Yep. Yeah, so that'll be a slow game. It'll be a grinder. That'll probably keep the score close. So yeah, don't turn the ball over. Like maximize those possessions.
Yeah.
UCLA also doesn't shoot very many threes, so given that WSU doesn't give up many, I do not expect UCLA to shoot many threes, with the exception of Dylan Andrews. But him, you're not like terribly sad if he shoots one, unless he makes it, of course. Will McClendon's the guy that you don't want it spotting up.
Yeah.
And Stevanovic a little bit too.
Yeah. I mean, the bottom line is we should win both these games, right? Like we
should. Yeah.
We're 70% plus favorites in both of these games. Again, with UCLA, we've sort of talked this, we've referenced this before on previous shows, but look, UCLA being ranked 94th, probably not representative of their actual quality, right? Like maybe they are, if we were to say like, okay, so Bart Torvik, that this was one that you cited last week about, last 10. Okay. Well, their last 10 ranking is 38, right? Something like that. Right. Our last 10 now here's
last week. I don't know about,
I looked this morning. I can look again while we're talking, but it was like 38 or 39 or something like that. And then ours was, as we mentioned, heading into the Arizona game was like, was like top 10-ish. Well, we took a really massive hit from the one game against Arizona State. So our last 10 is
it's only 10 games.
Yeah, our last 10 is
29th.
now 29th. But that's factoring in sort of like 9 good games and 1 really shitty game. Like spectacular.
Yeah, the game score is the second lowest of the year.
Second lowest of the year,
Santa
next to Santa Clara. And then just a hair below Utah, which was bad as well. So so that's really, really kind of dragging the whole thing down. When you look at UCLA, there's not something that is like, they don't have one outlier that's sort of dragging the whole thing down. With us, that's happening. So like if we were to say, okay, like what are we really over our last 10? Obviously we can't throw out Arizona State, but also that's a bit of an outlier. If you say,
and there's very good reasons for it to be an outlier too.
Yes. And so if you're saying that, okay, we are more like, we've been playing more like a top 15, top 20 team or whatever. And you say, okay, well, how would UCLA, what kind of prediction would there be against a team that's, top 15, top 20, for them? Okay. So maybe it's, if a team's 37 up to a team that's like, say, top 15, you're still talking probably like a 65% or so favorite. Like you're still a significant favorite, even under those, even if we grant that UCLA is better than their ranking, we should probably also grant that WSU has been playing better than their ranking for some time. So we're probably still a 2-1 favorite in most models, I would imagine.
WSU's home games in Pac-12 play, if you're looking at game scores on Bart Torvik, 97 against Arizona, 97 against Arizona, 98 against Utah, 95 against Colorado, 95 against Cal, 89 against Stanford. Like they have been playing crazy good at home.
Yes. If you're playing like at a 95 game score, that's like something like top 20-ish, I think is what that is. So you're saying like a team that's about a top 20 quality. So yeah, that's how we've been playing at home. We've been extremely good at home. I have no reason to believe that won't continue this weekend. I do think you're right that the UCLA game is going to be a sort of grinded out It might be a little ugly, but I feel really good about our chances to sweep this weekend. Honestly, I think the toughest game is going to be Washington next week.
I think, like, honestly, if we were going to lose one of these last four, like the one, like Arizona State was the one you'd be most okay with,
for sure.
And just both from a logical standpoint and an emotional standpoint.
Yes.
Yep. But yeah, like it's I think that winning these ones at home much more important. And look what happened the last time they lost a game on the road. Look at the run they went on.
Yes, I agree.
Like
that's what's coming.
Here's the thing. They were not going to win fucking 15 games in a row.
No.
Like there was going to be a shitty one in there.
Like that's hard for everybody.
Arizona State.
That's hard for anyone.
Yeah.
So
and honestly, I fully expect Miles to come back and have a. I just hope he doesn't press and turn the ball over. I hope he's not pressing to try to make up for like the rough weekend he had.
Yeah.
But he needs one more freshman of the week to take the overall title that will never be broken. 8 freshman of the week. So have a weekend, win both at home. Get average 20 points a game. Do that.
Yep. I trust our coaching staff to help him. I think they'll help him get right. They'll put him in spots to succeed.
Yeah. I think this is a nervy weekend. We're here at the end. Really just like one more win clinches that will make you feel good, Yeah. It's just like, can we get that one more? Just like get us over the line. Because honestly, the Arizona, because we were thinking like get to 23 wins.
Yeah.
But we didn't really have at Arizona in that math.
Nope.
That Arizona win almost counts for 2. Like it's
almost.
Like it's
Yep.
If you finish 22-9, you have that sweep of Arizona.
Yep.
That's a whole different thing.
Yep.
But let's not do that. Let's sweep this weekend.
Yes.
Head to UW. Let's have those 23 wins headed into the UW game. That would be fantastic. By the way, if you saw if you follow wins above bubble, WSU peaked at 3.3. That was worth 0.8 to beat Arizona, and then it was worth -0.6 to lose to Arizona State.
Yep. But again, that's exactly what we knew, which is that the win over Arizona carries more weight than the loss to Arizona State does. So,
exactly.
Yep.
So they are actually better off than they were before the weekend.
Yes. Which I said in the newsletter. Podcastversuseveryone.com.
Hell yeah, Jeffrey. So yeah, we were going to mention a newsletter. Before we get to beer, Jeff, I know you had some things you want to say about that.
Yeah, just go to podcastversuseveryone.com. We not only, in addition to the podcast, I know we have a lot of podcast listeners that don't, necessarily subscribe to the newsletter. I've been doing, 2 to 3 posts a week, 2 to 3 newsletters a week that are coming out through that. You just sign up with your email. It's free. For now, we're kind of exploring some different options, but for now it's all free. Sign up, you'll get what we do. I do, sort of post-game analysis and then usually one other sort of deep dive into something a week. Sent out a newsletter today on sort of like where the bracketology was looking at the Cougs and kind of the big nugget that I found. So if you had gotten the newsletter, you'd know, the big nugget that I found is that, there's not probably a ton of difference between going 3-0 the rest of the way and 2-1 the rest of the way. Probably doesn't move the needle a whole lot either way. But what could move the needle going forward, really honestly, is a third win over Arizona. That's kind of the thing that could make some noise. So anyway, you can read the whole newsletter. You can go to podcastversuseveryone.com. You can check out the post, sign up for the newsletter, and then it gets delivered right to your inbox, man. So yeah, do that.
And let's before we get to beer, let's get a sweep this weekend.
Yep.
And let's see Arizona
Yes.
And go Ducks. Go Ducks.
They listen. Arizona's got to play 3 of their last 4 on the road, man. That is not insignificant.
Well, it's 2 of their last 3 now.
Oh, did they play tonight? Who did they play tonight?
They beat Arizona State.
Okay,
they beat Arizona State. Yeah.
Okay, so now 2 of the last 3 on the road. After beating the pants off Arizona State again tonight.
So win out. You still got a shot to win a share of that. And honestly, it'd be a share, but you know that you were the champion because you swept them.
Well, look, I mean, we shared the Pac-12 title in 2002 in football, but also
and in 1997.
But nobody talks about that. Nobody cares. We're the fucking champs. That's it. We won it fair and square. So nobody thinks about that.
Yep. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
But yeah, so rooting hard for you Ducks, and then if the Cougs can get a sweep, then we can head into that UW game, knowing if we win.
Yes.
No, nothing nervy. It would be nothing nervy about a UW game, knowing win and you win the conference.
God, can you imagine?
Holy
shit! Fuck, man. I thought I had ulcers during the Arizona game.
Maybe I don't want this.
Good Lord. Yeah.
All right, so Jeff, on that note, let's talk about beer real quick.
Yes,
because we're already over the time that we wanted to do.
Yes.
Let's weird. We like talking about basketball. But Jeff, so to celebrate our Cougs inching ever closer to history, what are you drinking tonight?
Yeah, so for people who don't know, we record this podcast pretty late at night for a couple of old guys. It's now pushing 11 o'clock at night on Wednesday, and I knew we were going to be doing it kind of late. So I had a band concert tonight for my middle son, and of course because I knew it was going to be kind of a late night, I made a mug of coffee to drink at this concert at 7 o'clock at night, so that I knew I could be alert and awake during our podcast recording. So as I was thinking about the beer that I was going to drink, I opened up my fridge, looked at what I had. I settled on the Avery Brewing Tweak, which is stout with coffee added, aged in bourbon barrels. So that is what I've had. So the description goes like this. Tweak, one of the most beloved creations from our barrel-aged series, is made with locally roasted coffee beans soaked in a bourbon barrel-aged stout. We start with a robust imperial stout, then age it in the finest bourbon barrels, imparting complex essences of vanilla, caramel, and oak. The addition of Central American coffee beans produces hints of rich chocolate and a massive jolt of coffee flavor that appropriately earns itself the name Tweak. And Craig, I got to tell you, this beer kicks ass, man. It's so good. I mean, you know how much I love coffee. Like, I drink a lot of coffee. This is how I maintain my lifestyle of, actually being awake all day with 3 children and being a teacher. This is like as like not great as the Abyss was last week. This is that good. Absolutely delicious. We know how much I love Avery's bourbon barrel aged beers. Got me into trouble when we were in Boulder, so I do love them. Fortunately, they did not have Uncle Jacob's Stout at the beer place that I went to and bought this. But all joking aside, the beer is outstanding. I do honestly, I think I'm not nearly as why I'm trying to think of the correct term here. Like, you are far more experienced at different breweries, bourbon barrel aged, beers and programs and whatever. I will say, for me, in my limited experience, for me, like, the Avery beers are sort of like the gold standard in terms of what I prefer. I mean, even when we were down there at the brewery, I remember they had some kind of stout that was aged in like tequila barrels, and that was weird, but also strangely good. And so for me, like, if I see an Avery, barrel aged beer, I'm like, yeah, I'm totally in for that. Totally love it. Fremont stuff is great as well. But Avery's cool because you can get it in, smaller format, it's a 12 ounce bottle versus, buying a whole bomber that I don't have to share with someone.
What's the ABV?
13.1.
Oh, that's a little tweak.
Yes.
They like those.
Do they have big tweaks?
Man, they used to no, like tweak used to be like 17%.
Oh,
like when
wow.
you had it in Boulder, that shit was like 17%.
Yeah.
Like that Avery used to run all their barrel aged shit was like 16,
Yes.
17, 18%.
I do remember that from when we were at the brewery. They're like giving me these like 4
Remember
ounce,
may
6
not be
ounce
the
pour.
word.
Yeah, but I remember. It wasn't that bad. I do remember. But yeah, like you're just thinking, it's just a little beer. It's just a little pour. It's like a little mini baby pour at 18%. Like, anyway. Yeah. So yeah, it's delicious. I love it. I would definitely, next time I see it, I will definitely buy. Actually, you want to know where I bought this? Okay. So side story. I was in Paulsbo, and there's like a little like Norwegian market.
Marina Mart.
Yeah, Marina Mart.
Marina
okay.
Mart.
Their beer selection's fabulous, right? So
Yes.
I think I got this
Legendary.
for like $6 or something. Like I was like, hell yeah, I'll buy that for $6. So I bought that, and then they also had like I don't know, they were just putting them out on the shelf. They had like 8 different Bottle Logics there. And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, Bottle Logic's. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bottle Logic's been sending their shit out now.
Yeah. So
All
Marina
their
Mart.
barrel age. Yeah.
So if you're looking for like a little like hidden gem for like awesome bottles, man, that Marina Mart's
Jeff,
fantastic.
you're not supposed to tell people this.
Sorry.
What are you doing?
Sorry.
This is like a beer nerd secret.
I did not
The
know
honey
this.
hole.
I discovered this on my own. So
How dare
Sorry.
you, sir?
I let the secret out.
You can they actually put their inventory. You can order stuff like online.
Oh,
you
that's
could,
awesome.
Like, look and see all the beer they have.
Yeah.
online.
So anyway, yeah, great stuff there. Good. We love going to Paulsbo. So next time I'm there, I'll definitely pick up maybe a couple more bottles of this because yeah, I loved it. It's good. It was like a very pleasant beer to have tonight and very well made. So now I've moved on to my Freem Pilsner because that's how we roll to finish the podcast. What about you, buddy?
I am having just another rando cellar box pull.
Yes.
It is from a Belgian lambic maker called Tilken. One of like the major ones. I'd say like the kind of 3 major ones, other than like in terms of beer nerds. Obviously like Lindemans is the biggest, but people usually know Lindemans for their young lambics. The 3 like purists that only make old lambic is which is not the sweet stuff like that. If you've had Lindemans lambics, they're very sweet. There's sugar in them. They're only like 2% alcohol, whatever. But so there's Cantillon and Driefonteinen. Or Driefontein, people call it.
Yep.
And then there's Tilken. And Tilken does a lot. They do a lot of experimentation with different types of fruits. And so this one that I never had before, but I didn't even, honestly, I'd forgotten that I bought it. Like it was like I'd found it in a box. It is Grossi. I don't know. I can't pronounce French. Grossiel Macaro Verte. What it means is gooseberries. It's Tilken with gooseberries.
Ooh.
That's French for gooseberries. Apparently, it means berry like mackerel berry, because apparently they use gooseberries in France to make mackerel sauce. Sauce for like mackerel when they eat mackerel, I guess. Like the
Okay.
fish, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So that is why they call it like mackerel berry.
Yeah.
And we call it gooseberry.
Okay.
I learned that there is 2 different pronunciations in English depending on what part of England you're in. In the U.S. and in northern England they say gooseberry, and then in southern England, in northern England say gooseberry.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if I've ever eaten a gooseberry. Apparently it's in the family of a currant, so I'm assuming it's a little tart green berry. If you've ever had a currant, they're quite tart. It's so that addition to the beer has been very interesting. It added kind of this like really earthy. It added to the tartness of it. I don't remember Tilken Goose like being this tart, and this one's pretty acidic. I had to like stop in between and start drinking my other beer because it was like killing me because I'm an old man now. But it's very it's very Tilken, like very distinctly them. Just a very good base lambic with a very interesting fruit on it. I like how they just use a lot of different fruits in their beers, and they just always name the beer after the fruit or whatever. This is the 2019-2020 season. So it was bottled sometime around then, sometime in 2019 or 2020. So it's just had it for a few years, I guess. You know, that's a lot of beers in my cellar. I'm like, holy shit, I've had these for so long now. Like I busted out a beer to share with someone the other day, like a E9 beer, and I realized that I'd had it for like almost 6 years. I'm like, oh my god, like this is ridiculous. I got to drink these fucking beers. But yeah, so Tilken. Anyway, so that's what we're drinking. I'm also drinking something from a brewery called Ilk, which is a newer brewery from Olympia.
Awesome.
And it is a Fluid Diet, a modern pale ale. It's a little bit hazy pale ale. Actually, D gave these to me. I think they had some extra samples or something. So free beer. Woohoo.
Free beer is fabulous.
I'll have to tell D she got about 14 shout outs on this pod. Anyway, so let's wrap it up quickly with let's talk about the women's basketball team. They split this weekend. They definitely need some wins, I think, to feel safe.
Yep.
They go to Utah and Colorado, which hasn't been as quite the terrible trip as it has been for the men. They have won games there, but Utah, Colorado are both very, very good.
Yep.
And we've seen time and time again against the good teams, WSU without Charlize will hang and then kind of fall apart at the end. So hopefully we don't see that.
They just
twice more.
They just struggle so hard to score. Like, you know, as we saw, and maybe this isn't like the best comparison, but it's kind of the first one that came to mind. Like, you know, in the Dick Bennett years where you'd hang, they could absolutely hang because their defense was really good and they could really sort of like keep it close. But in the end, they just really struggled to score enough to get over the hump. Right. And that was what we saw in Dick Bennett's last year, which of course turned out to be a precursor to Tony's year, where it's like, oh, now they figured out how to score. All of a sudden they're great. Right. But like that year, they just could not get over the hump because they couldn't score very well. And that is, for this team, that's kind of their thing, man. It's really, really tough for them to score against teams of really any reasonable quality. So the last 4 games, you know, they've played Oregon, Oregon State, Arizona, right? And Oregon and Arizona State are kind of 2 of the worst teams in the conference. Probably the 2 worst, right? Like, I'm not looking at the standings right now, but I think they're the 2 worst teams in the conference. Okay, so you scored 73 and 71 against those 2. Okay, great. But it's like, okay, Oregon State, you know, top 10 team, 52 points. Arizona, not a top 10 team, but playing much better right now than they were when we played them in
Stanford.
Pullman.
They're crushing it.
Right.
Yeah.
So they are sort of like peaking at the right time. We only scored 45 against them, granted, on the road, but still only scored 45. Against Stanford, only scored 58. Against Cal, only scored 59. Against Utah, in the game we played against them in Pullman, of course, this was right after Charlize got hurt, but 61 points. Against Colorado, 57, right? So outside of the 2 worst teams in the conference, I think we're averaging less than 60 points a game against everybody else, probably in the 50s, because we got a couple games one game in the 40s there. So anyway, the point is really tough time scoring. I think what we have found is that you know, it's hard to kind of figure out who's going to shoulder the load. and it sort of felt like everybody was kind of looking at each other. And Tara Wallach was the one, God bless her, who seemed to try to kind of step forward and take that load. But I just don't think her game is really built for that sort of thing. She just is not, her skill set is not such that she's going to be able to impose her will on another team. So I feel like a bit they have started to sort of figure out how to make it work with a bunch of players who can all score, but are not like high usage go-to type players, or at least not yet, right? Like Villa may end up being that. LA Villa might end up being that. But it seems pretty clear to me Wallach's not that. Bella's not that. So Tuhina's not that. I just think that like,
Although AT did have 24
she did have a great game.
points
She did have a great game against Oregon, no doubt. But I also don't think that they have that kind of a high volume scorer, someone they could really lean on when they need a bucket, to just sort of like, essentially exert their will on a game, right? I mean, look, a mutual friend of ours referred to Charlize as Jordan, right? They're like, they lost Jordan, and honestly, that's kind of, that's not like a bad comparison. So, hopefully maybe they can get one of these games. If they get one of these, I don't know about you. Like, I feel like if they get one of these games, they're actually in pretty damn good shape. If they can just get one.
Definitely. If you get a road win against a team like that, like one of these teams, like
yes,
they're ranked, they're top 20, top 15 teams. Like you're probably, given the other wins they have.
Yes.
Gonzaga's keeping moving up. Like, they're beating the living shit out of Portland tonight. Like, I think they're winning by like 50. They're going to be like top 20 in that, top 15 in that. That you have the Maryland game, you have the UCLA win. They have a lot of wins on there, and so they if they got one of these in the road, I think they probably would feel pretty safe, to be honest.
Yeah. And suddenly the 5-game skid turns into a 3-3 stretch. Right. So like you can be like, okay, we've sort of straightened it out.
I think what would be important to show is that you can beat tournament quality teams without Charlize.
Correct. Yep.
That's what's important.
Yep. And if you can do that,
and they
even
have
just
not
once,
shown they can do that.
Even just once would make a huge difference.
Just because, like you have mentioned time and time again, the committee doesn't want to be embarrassed once the tournament starts.
Yep.
They want to make sure you can actually play with good teams.
Yep.
And they haven't proven they can beat one of these teams.
Without
Arizona was probably their best shot at it, but that was their worst game of the stretch, really.
Yep.
But Arizona's playing like crazy good. It's been apparent at this point.
Yeah.
They apparently may have shed some dead weight.
Yeah, apparently.
I know.
The player who was
some roster.
Yeah, I was gonna say the player who was the best player when we went to the game is no longer with the team, and they're playing great. So.
And she had moved to like a bench role.
Yep.
During this stretch.
Yep.
But yeah. Anyways. But they had senior day. Obviously Charlize, Bella, Beyonce, Jess, and Yo, I think, who were I see those are the ones in the picture that have the lays on. Yeah. So that's it. That's who I'm guessing. At least those are the main players that people would know that were celebrated. Just like when you talk about Lise, Yo, Jess, and Bella, like just like they could just look at the rafters and see what they did.
Yep. Unbelievable class.
Like unbelievable class. One of the really one of the most important and greatest kind of just team classes, senior classes that you could come across at Wazoo. So yeah, it's just, and obviously we were lucky to get an extra year from Bella. Unfortunately, didn't get that year from Yo, and didn't get a full season from Charlize. But yeah, like a great a great group. Ula was there, Grace was there, so they had some of their ex teammates in support as well.
Yeah,
so
it was super cool.
Yep. But yeah, they still can get it together and make the tournament this year. They have some opportunities. I mean, anyone they play in the Pac-12 tournament is going to be an opportunity.
Yep.
As long as it's not Arizona State or Oregon, every other team's going to be a potential tournament quality team.
Yep.
So so that if they can't get one this weekend and get one to the tournament, they're in. I would say they're probably in. Like given their resume, we've seen they haven't needed big records to get in just because the level of wins that they've accumulated in the past. So they just need to win, man.
Yep.
And I would love if they did. But yeah, so yeah, Jeff, we thought we were doing an hour. We're at an hour and a half. We already
well, that never happens.
Yeah. Again, podcastversuseveryone.com. Subscribe to the newsletter. Jeff's been cranking out men's basketball content
fun as hell.
There. Great pieces. Yeah, he's writing. Usually, he writes a gamer, not like a game recap, more of like a game breakdown, and then also usually has another article every week as well. So yeah, check that out. But yeah, Jeff. With that, I will say, big weekend ahead. Go fucking Cougs.
Hell yeah, go fucking Cougs, right? Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Get vaccinated.
Get vaccinated and protect your school boards.
Protect your school boards and support a fucking